Hello and welcome to another live English lesson here on the AM Language YouTube channel. If this is your first time, hit that subscribe button and like the video. My name's Richie, and as always, our lessons are going to be live at 3 o'clock. So, what can you guys expect this week in the lessons? Irina F, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's lesson as always. Thank you for joining. By the way, if this is your first time, make sure you participate and follow the lesson in the live chat section, comment section on YouTube, because that's where the action happens. So this week, hello, Sandra. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you so much for joining. So in today's lesson, we've got let's talk about health. So we're going to look at the subject of health in today's lesson. And I'm hoping to create more of a conversation-based lesson, developing our ability to keep a conversation going. Tuesday, play around with adverbs. We will look at adverbs and there'll be a bit of a range. We'll look at it from a low level all the way up to a high level. So there'll be something for everyone tomorrow. Wednesday, reported speech, how to speak clearly. It's always good just to remind ourselves about reported speech. I've done it maybe once or twice, but a really important element that can sometimes be overlooked, meaning not looked at, is the pronunciation, the speaking skills that come with reported speech. Good afternoon, Leondina. Buon pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. Thursday, word families. Stay tuned make sure you join me on Thursday for word families, and Friday, film English. Let's laugh together. This one I'm looking forward to. We're going to look at films that make us laugh. Not all of them might be comedies, because we might also just look at some films that are just bad but funny. So that's what you guys can expect on this week's live YouTube lessons here on the AM Language channel. By the way, we have a new video up today, Present Perfect Part 2. Make sure you check that one out, especially if you sometimes get confused between since and for. So make sure you watch that. Now, other things that are happening at AM Language this week, in case some of you don't know, let me fill you in. So the activities that are happening at AM Language are as follows. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see it better. Now, I should say this doesn't change an awful lot. There's some changes, but most of the time there's a lot of similarities from week to week. Roberto says, good afternoon, Ricky. Good afternoon, Roberto. Thank you for joining. And that's because it's two elements, two reasons for this. One, it's the winter. And second of all, because of COVID. So group activities or activities in general outside the classroom have to be carefully managed. So meet and greet, which is a standard thing on Monday evening. So I do recommend that if you are new and this is your first time watching. St. John's Cathedral, if you haven't been to St. John's Cathedral, make sure you do go while you're in Malta. Some really impressive artwork inside. Then you've got the option for Intercontinental Hotel, spa, a spa actually. So, well, look, I recommend a spa. If you feel that you need to relax, go to the spa. And then you have the option to play football in the evening. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, you've got an in-Tina tour around the dungeons and museum. You've got the option to do Pilates and laser tag. All of those things sound interesting. I think Pilates could be quite a good one. and laser tag. That's always fun. Thursday, DDP yoga. If you haven't tried, make sure you do at some point. And then in the evening, you've got an amazing dinner at Slimmer Pitch. I suggest it could be quite good, especially if the weather's nice. Friday, archery. It's socially distanced, that's for sure. And if you haven't tried archery, I do recommend it. And then in the evening, you have the option for some flamingo night and dinner. Saturday, you've got a Gozo tour, and you've also got an option to go to Camino and the Blue Lagoon. I am going to say this. Malta is, look, the weather in Malta isn't that bad. It's actually reasonably good. If you do, and you might think to yourself, oh, I don't know. Look, if you go to the Blue Lagoon at this time of year, you won't find boats. And if it's a good day, then you will enjoy it. I do recommend it. And then Sunday, you've got the South of Malta tour, Popeye Village, and horse riding. And horse riding at this time of year could be quite nice. Okay, so that's that. Then let's get into today's lesson. So I'm just going to start off by asking you guys some questions. And the important thing here is just to make sure that we know what we're talking about when it comes to health. So let's start off with, I'm going to start off with a little quiz, actually. Do you know, effectively? So the first thing is, can you guys try and complete the following question? Okay. No, the following sentence. So let's go with this. Okay, so we have a question. You need to complete the sentence by trying to figure out or trying to tell me what the correct word is. So we have this strange word. Now, this is not a word at the end. But if you put the letters in the right order, you will get the correct word. So you've got the spelling of Tympossm. If you change the order of the letters, you will get the correct word. So let's start off with that. Can you tell me what word this is meant to be? Okay, symptoms. Okay. Roberto, I'm going to say that was just a typo of the H there. Okay, good. Well done, guys. And that is correct. Symptoms is the correct answer. So well done there. Symptoms. Now, the next thing is, let's see. When we say what are the symptoms, which definition of symptoms or symptom is the correct one? Okay, which definition is correct? Okay, A or is it B? Which one is the better, well, which one is the correct definition here with the word symptoms? Is it A, signs that tell you what the illness might be, or things you think you don't have that tell you what you have? Which one is the more accurate or the better, or which one is the correct definition? Leondina says A. Well, if you agree with Leondina, let me know. Do you agree with Leondina? Is this the correct one? Okay, all of you are saying A, and I'm very happy to tell you that the answer is in fact A. So off to a good start. Now, let's increase the level of difficulty for one moment. Classic one, cold versus flu. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is this. Let's start off. What are the symptoms for a cold? Okay, what are the symptoms for a cold? Now, I'm going to give you some options. So I'm not going to go in and I'm going to give you some options and you guys need to tell me. So let's go with, I'm going to give you in total maybe 10 options. Okay, so there'll be more than one correct answer. Runny or stuffy nose. Sneezing. C, a dry, uncomfortable cough. D, headache. E, shaking and chills. F, severe. Now, I should just tell you, severe is just strong. Muscle and strong muscle or body aches. So that's when your body hurts a lot. And let's go with G, mild tiredness. H, just a cough. And let's go for one more, actually. Nausea and vomiting. So nausea is when you feel sick and vomiting is when you are sick. Okay, so nausea, in case you don't know, is the feeling that you are going to be sick. And vomiting is when you are sick. Other words would be throw up, for example. Yeah, you can throw up if you are being sick. You've also got words like, what word am I thinking of? There's another word I'm thinking of. What word is it? Oh yeah, that's it. Bath. Okay, this is the blah side of things. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Okay. And like I said, what are the symptoms for a cold? So if you're looking through here, you think, okay, some of these might be flu. You'll see that there's two types of cough. So let me know which type of cough is the type of cough you would have when it's a cold. So Roberto says A, B, E, G, and H. Leondina says for a cold A, B, C, G. flu, D, E, F, H, and J. Sandra, A, B, C, D, G, H. And Irina, F, A, B, C, D, G, H. Okay, so a lot of similar answers. Let's see what the answers are here. Okay, the first one that's going to be correct is, of course, A. Absolutely. B, yes, sneezing, of course. Let's see. C, dry and comfortable cough. I'm not going to put down C, and that's because of H. Headache, yes, you could have a headache. Shaking and chills, no, that's going to be more for a flu. F, again, more for a flu. G, mild tiredness, yes. A cough, yeah, you could have that. And the last one's no. Like no, you're not going to necessarily feel that. So those are the correct answers. So if you got most of them right, well done. If you end up with something like the chills and shaking, that's going to be a flu. Okay, so those are the correct answers. Now, let's move on to my next question. And that is another question of knowing the difference. And this is something that you guys do cover in National Geographic. So I just want to see what you guys say. So which uh, which one is the meaning of Placebo, and which one is the meaning of nocebo? So which one is the meaning of placebo and which one is the meaning of nocebo? So A. Let's go with and B. So A, you take something that has no real medical qualities, but it makes you feel worse, and something that has no medical qualities, but it makes you feel better. So this is when you are given a pill and someone says, take this, it will make you feel better. And you take it and you feel better. But in reality, it's all psychological, really. It's not real in terms of it does anything to the chemicals in your body. So Leodina says that B is placebo, A is nocebo. Roberto agrees, Sandra agrees, and excellent. Okay, well, I can tell you guys that you have all come up with the correct answer. Noella, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the lesson today. Good. So we've had a little look at that. So we've had a little look at a cold, a flu, placebo, and nocebo. So why are we looking at these things? Well, it comes on to this important element at the moment. We are now coming to the end of February. Usually usually there's colds, maybe a bit of a flu season, but of course we are still dealing with COVID-19. And it's all about trying to remain healthy during this period. So one of the things I would like you guys to do is we just were going to have a conversation about health during this period. So I'm going to give you an example of something to do with cold and flu. I don't think I've had a flu actually since the start of COVID. I don't think I've had. I'm not even sure if I can say I've even had a cold, if I'm being totally honest. So my first question to you guys is this. After COVID, would you still like to walk around with a with a mask during the winter? Okay, so that's my question. Feel free to come in and let me know. So, like I said, guys, today I now want to get into more of a conversation-based lesson, keeping the flow of conversation going and encouraging you guys to come in with your thoughts. So, this is my first question. After COVID, would you still like to walk around with a mask during the winter? For me, personally, I look forward to not wearing a mask. I prefer the fresh air, if I'm being honest. I like feeling the fresh air. So I won't continue wearing the mask. Um, but I do have a second part to this question. So I'll wait for it. Um, feel free to tell me why as well. It's always important to to expand. Make sure you try and expand on your answers. Okay, don't be afraid not to. So expand means say more than just giving a simple yes or no answer. Um, Evelina says, I don't like the mask. Fair enough. I completely agree. What about this one? Would you still wear... Hello, Evelina. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. Would you still wear a mask on a plane? Now, I don't know about this one. And I don't like wearing the mask, but I sometimes wonder about the plane. Um, I sometimes think to myself, oh, maybe it might be better to wear the mask when I'm on a plane. Um, sometimes you get on the plane, you've got lots of people, someone has a cough or something. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about the plane idea. Would you wear a cough? Would you wear a mask? Would you still be comfortable to wear a mask on a plane? Do you think you would? And then we'll move on from this line of questioning, and we'll just change the line of questioning just a little bit. Nuala says, I prefer not wearing a mask, but I think it'll be necessary in some situations. I think there will be still some, I think it will be necessary to wear in some situations. Sandra says, inside rooms with many people in the room, I would wear a mask. Fair enough. Inside or on-site rooms, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there's certain occasions where I would be tempted to still have a mask on me just in case. Leondina says, to be honest, I didn't think I will use the mask after the period of COVID. I look forward to breathing freely. Yes, me too. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I've seen some people try to run with a mask on, and I just don't think I can't run with a mask on. No, it says in overcrowded places, or if we have a cold or flu, yeah, I think that's when it might be useful. I suspect, look, I think even in a classroom, I think if you know that it's flu season and people have colds and flus in the class, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more people still wear masks afterwards. Okay, so let's go with the next one here. Let's go with this. Roberta says, in my opinion, apart from COVID, I wouldn't go for wearing a mask anywhere. I wouldn't go, you know what? I wouldn't go for wearing a mask anywhere. I see what you're doing there. The only thing I would say is, Roberto, is that it's probably extra wording. You could just say, I wouldn't wear a mask anywhere. Oh, here's one. You could also say, I wouldn't opt. I wouldn't opt. I wouldn't opt to wearing a mask. I wouldn't opt for wearing a mask. I wouldn't opt to wearing a mask. Let me just remind myself regarding this preposition. Okay, both are correct. Yeah, I wouldn't opt to wearing a mask. I wouldn't opt for wearing. Yes, in this case, opt to. I wouldn't opt to wearing a mask. I wouldn't opt for wearing a mask. Opt is is choose. I wouldn't go for it. Basically, opt usually has two prepositions, either to or for. Both could be used. I wouldn't opt for this. I wouldn't opt to do that. So let's look at this one here. This question. Can you think of something that has a placebo effect? Now, I'm going to give you an example. Um, I think I ended up in a conversation with someone recently about Panadol or these headache pills. I've always thought that these pills actually work. I've always thought that they had a medical thing, a reason behind why they worked. But I have met some people who think that that it's just a placebo effect. Now I don't know the answer to this question, but I'd be interested to know, what do you guys think? Do you think these headache pills like paracetamol, Panadol, Nurofen, do they have a placebo effect, or do they have a real effect? What do you guys think? So that would be my example, but I don't actually know the correct answer. But can you think of something that has a placebo effect? I know at the start of COVID, so Noella says, no, they're not a placebo. Good to know. So it means that if you are correct, Noella, then it means that what I have always thought is correct, which is always encouraging to know. I would say, can I think of something that definitely does have? I know some people wanted to say that the mask was had like a placebo effect, but I think that's been disproven. Noella says, I'm a pharmacist. Excellent. In which case, Noella, I'll be intrigued to hear your comments then. Sandra says, I think they have an effect. I think they have an effect. An effect, actually. An effect. Okay. Um, Actually, let's go with this question over here. Can the placebo effect be harmful? Um, I don't know the answer to this one. I think it might have to do with, it depends what you take. I know that some people get very addicted to taking all kinds of drugs. And I think sometimes I know one, at least one person who will take drugs that have a placebo effect, but they become almost in their mind addicted to the drug, whereby they feel that they need to have it. If they don't have it, they can't function. So that's one unfortunate thing, but I can't name any sort of things. But if you guys can think of, if let me know your opinion. Do you think a placebo effect can be harmful? Let me know. Um, and then we'll also then talk about like trying to keep healthy during this period. Are there any certain vitamins that you should take? Any exercise? In fact, diet is quite a good one as well, of course. Sandra says, "What do you think about homeopathy?" Now, that's a really good question. Okay, homeopathy. Um, I don't know enough about homo homo homo. Oh gosh, homeopathy. Is it homeopathy? I need to remind myself how to pronounce this word. I've actually had a student who was studying it. I don't know enough about it, if I'm being honest. I mean, my dad's a doctor, but I don't pretend just because he's a doctor, it doesn't mean I can pretend to be one. Um, homeopathy. Okay, so it's homeopathy. That's the correct pronunciation. Homeopathy. I don't know. Noella says some kind of medicines can have a placebo effect. For example, those multivitamins and minerals. Okay, that's a good one because I've sometimes wondered about those multivitamin ones. They can also have some deleterious effect, particularly the minerals. Okay, good to know. The school medicines thinking they have a placebo effect. You know, it's really hard these days, actually, when it comes to anything medicine, anything medical, to know what's true or false, unless if you go to speak to someone, unless if you go to a specialist. So, actually, I'm going to come up with this next question. Is it wise to look at Google Doctor? Okay. Is it good to look at Google for your symptoms? Is it good to look at Google for is it good to ask Google what you have effectively? What do you guys think? Um, Roberta says, I remember a doctor told my grandmother that smoking would have helped her to digest. Really? Wow, terrible. No, that's wrong, isn't it? Noella says, in my opinion, homeopathy is all about the placebo effect. Interesting. Okay, so Noella is saying here that homeopathy is, in fact, just all placebo effects. I remember my dad having a similar opinion when it came to a lot of Far East Oriental um, drugs, like a lot of these sort of um, not mainstream drugs. I remember my dad saying something similar about it in the sense that most of them just have a placebo effect. So that's interesting. Leondina says in some cases it could be harmful, for example, when you use it instead of real medicine. Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. You do find a lot of people doing that. Sandra says, in my opinion, this doesn't matter when it helps. Fair enough. I suppose sometimes it's just psychological. So let me ask you this next question. Um, how many of you uh, how many of you want to have the COVID vaccine? Now, this is an interesting question because a lot of that you find people who are divided on the subject. So let me know what you guys think. We're having a good conversation here in terms of keeping the conversation going. 0202 says it depends. Google is useful to look for information, even in medicine. I think it's useful. Welcome to the channel 0202 and thank you for joining. If this is your first time, make sure you subscribe. I think one of the interesting things there is you can find out the reviews on medicines. I think that's quite a useful one. Looking up reviews. If you're not too sure about what you're taking and you want to know more, I think it can be very useful to find out, especially potential side effects or something like that. Noella says we have to have it eventually. Well, for me, Noella, I definitely will have the COVID vaccine without question. Um, I think it's an absolute must. I know, though, that there are some people who are very skeptical when it comes to vaccinations. I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of potential misinformation about the COVID vaccine as well. Sandra says that she will get it. I would say for me, I think I will. I definitely want to have it. I want to go back to normal as quickly as possible. I would like to travel without having to isolate for 2 weeks. I think it's a necessity. Sandra says, Leondina says, considering the importance of stopping it, we must have it. Very true. Noella says, I think that too. I'm looking forward to get the vaccine. I look forward to getting the vaccine. If you remember last week, we had a look at this one little bit. Look forward to getting. So you add the gerund there, the I and G, but good sentence. Okay. 0202 says, I want to take the vaccine. And Roberto says, I would have COVID-19 vaccine as soon as possible. Not just for me, but to likely prevent the elders from getting it from me indirectly. I think that's a really good point, Roberto. I think it is. It's important to think about not just yourself, but other people. If you want to go and see your grandparents or your parents and they're in the vulnerable category, then it's important to do so. In case you're wondering, okay, vulnerable. Okay, so the vulnerable category, it's worth knowing this, those most at risk, okay? If you want to go and see people who are in the vulnerable category, so those most at risk, I think it's important that you do have it, and I think it's important that other people that they have it as well. I know that for some people, maybe they're just too skeptical. They would prefer to wait and see what happens. Out of course, but just to let you know, by the way, this pronunciation, vulnerable, vulnerable. You might think to yourself, it could be quite a difficult word to pronounce, and when you look at the spelling, it certainly does look a bit of what we would call a mouthful. It's like, oh gosh, how do I say that? But it's vulnerable. Okay, so it's got this strange it's got a lot of schwas actually. So it's vulnerable, vulnerable. You can, if you find it too difficult, you can drop the first L and just say vulnerable. You don't need to necessarily keep both L's. But if you feel confident, you can say vulnerable, vulnerable. Sandra says, this season I had my first flu vaccine. Very good. Okay. So next question that I'm going to ask you guys about this is during lockdown, what's the best? What are the best? Yes, what are the best things you can do to remain healthy? Now, this doesn't just have to be physical; it can be mental. So for me, please let me know what you guys think. For me, I would say, first of all, I think it's trying to find time every day to do some exercise, even if it's not a lot of exercise, some form of movement. And if you are working at home, like many of us are at times, the importance of standing up. I am definitely guilty of sitting down for too long. I think diet, it's really important to get your diet right. That reminds me, I want to try some things this week, which are very much on the healthy side of things. And then I think from the psychologicals, there's a lot of things in terms of psychological. If you are living on your own or you're not living with a lot of people, it can be lonely. You can sometimes be left to your own thoughts for too long, and this can become a problem. So I would say it's really important to look after your mind, read healthy things, and I'm going to suggest this. If I would say if there's one thing that it's probably healthy to do less of in order to better the mind is, I would say look at reduce the amount of time you spend on your phone looking at social media. That would be some. Now I have done that, and I would say the more time I look at social media, the less positive I feel in my mind. The less I look at social media, the more positive I feel in my mind. So I would say there's some things to think about there. 0202 says that I tend to work out almost every day and have a balanced diet 3 times a day. That sounds good. That sounds healthy. Now, when it says walking my dog 2 or 3 times a day, doing exercise, and watching the English classes. Excellent. I'm very happy to hear that. And actually, you mentioned something really important: a dog. And I'm going to put this in a question. Um, does does it make things? What's my question? Is having a dog good for your health, especially during a pandemic? Okay, so let me know about your answers there. Is having a dog good for your health, especially during a pandemic? I have a feeling the answer is going to be yes for a lot of people. Um, if anything, I would say my desire, my want, um, for a dog has increased during lockdown. I would love to have a dog now. Roberto says, I stopped watching TV. That helped me a lot. I consider it very healthy. I think that's good, actually. You know what? I don't watch TV at all. I think the only TV I watch is if there's sport on and Netflix. I think that's the only time I watch anything to do with a TV. Sandra says it's important doing sports, a good healthy eating, and for example, meditation for a healthy mind. I think the meditation is a really interesting one there. Thank you very much for that comment, Sandra. It's important doing sport. Here, I would say, Sandra, put eating before at the start of that. So I would say it's important doing sports, eating healthy food or eating good healthy food. Um, that's a present participle. So I would move that to the start of that next bit. And then you don't need the article. Evelina says, I have a dog, is very important for me in this period. Very good. And Noella says, yes, I love to have a dog. She's a daughter of the first lockdown. Very nice. What I would say there's Noella. I love having a dog because you have a dog. So you would say, I love having a dog. Leondina says, it's always a good thing to have a dog. I love them. So I'm just going to point out some things. One, good, sorry, eating good healthy food. Okay, that's one correction there. Second correction would be love having a dog. Okay. Leodine says it's always a good thing to have a dog. I love them. Roberto says, to my eyes, having a dog could be really helpful. It is kind of oh, right, I see. Okay, I wasn't too sure what you had written there. My eyes were sort of, I had to squint almost because I wasn't sure if you had written something with what you had written. And I thought that, wait a minute, am I reading this correctly? So, yeah, so as Roberto says, to my eyes, I would say instead of to my eyes, in my eyes for this one. So in my eyes, having a dog could be really helpful. It is kind of symbiote. Oh, how do I say this word? Actually, I do forget. Yeah, symbiosis, which is to do with two animals living together of different species. And 0202 says walking a dog is good for health and staying with a dog is good for for your mental health. For your mental health. Don't forget health. actually with that one, because it's always mental health. Sandra says, yes, I think a dog has a positive effect, especially for single persons. Very good. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I copied it from a dictionary, says Roberto. Okay, very good. It's not a word I normally use because I don't often have the occasion to use it. And as a result, I myself had to check the pronunciation. I wasn't too sure, but it's because you've got two types of pronunciation, but I prefer the first one, symbiosis. So yeah, symbiosis. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for today. And we've had a good conversation, which is what I was hoping we could end up doing. Just to remind you, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, there's another live lesson. And this time it's going to be play around with adverbs. Okay, so this is seeing how we can use adverbs to our advantage. Sandra says, thank you, Richard. I really enjoyed this lesson. I think that's what you mean. And thank you. I'm glad that you really enjoyed the lesson. Excellent. Leondina says, thank you, Richard. See you tomorrow. And Noella says, see you tomorrow. Well, thank you very much, guys. And thank you to all of you who have participated in today's lesson. There's been a lot of you. We had a lot of people watching as well, which is good. It's like almost like a normal standard. It's like maximum normal size class that we'd have. So excellent. Make sure, guys, if you enjoyed this lesson, like the video. It's important to get the likes up on these videos, and make sure you subscribe. We're approaching 700 subscribers, which is really good. So a big thank you to, I'm going to read out as many of you as possible. Sandra, Roberto, Irina F, Evelina, Noella, Leondina, 0202, and I think I mentioned everybody. If I've missed out anybody, I do apologize. But really, really good answers today. Take care, keep well, and I will see you guys tomorrow. So, guys, thank you very much. And if you haven't checked out the video, part 2, present perfect, make sure you check it out. We are building a short video series at the moment, and at the end of it, there'll be lots and lots of videos that will cover lots of different language points in English. So thank you so much. Take care. See you tomorrow at 3 o'clock here on the AM Language YouTube channel with me, Richie. Bye for now.